Hi lovelies, how are you all doing? Are you still staying safe and sane and not climbing the walls yet? I think we've got a while to go. It feels like it's going to be as long as the first lockdown, but we can do this. We can get through it. We can be okay. Now I know it's not on a Monday, so everything's a bit topsy-turvy at the minute, isn't it? I've got I suppose the routine's all out of whack and homeschooling, so they're on the computer different times and everything, and trying to catch a few minutes where it's peace and quiet and I can come up here and film. So they may not be on a Monday for a while, but I will get back to a Monday when everything's back to normal. But at the minute they're just whenever I can put them up, but still a weekly series hopefully. But that being said, I still never am in focus. That being said, I think this is going to be a cracker of an episode today. I hope you enjoy it. So, if you are a viewer and you come back to see these episodes, then hi, welcome back. How are you doing? If you are new, then I suggest that I learn to speak English, and you like ghosts, myths, legends, weird, wacky and wonderful, strange, mysterious things, then I suggest you hit the like button, the subscribe button, one of those buttons, subscribe one, that's the one, so you can watch along with the rest of the episodes that I do, and I might learn how to talk. Yeah. But other than that, yeah. So, I still don't know if I'm in focus. Am I in focus? I don't know. Maybe being soft focus is a good thing. I don't think I am in focus, but hey ho. Anyway, so everybody, welcome to another episode of Ghosts, Myths and Legends. Are you sitting comfortably? Shall we begin? Today's tale takes place in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. I hope I've got that right. If not, I'll put it in the description. At 10 a.m. on January the 23rd, 1897, Edward Stibling Trout Shue sent an errand boy, but I think it might have been a young apprentice or someone who worked in, I think he was a blacksmith, so in his shop, but we'll call him an errand boy for all intents and purposes, sent a young boy to run some errands and sent him to his home to see if his wife needed anything. The young boy went there and he found Shona, or Siona, we'll call her Zona for now, lying at the foot of the stairs, flat out, face down, an arm under her stomach and the other one stretched out to the side of her neck to one side. Now this was a really good kid. He ran and told the authorities straight away. He got the coroner and told everyone he should have done, told the doctor and everything. While he was doing that, Trout Shue went home, cleaned the body, put her in a high-necked dress and carried her up the stairs to Bedfordshire, and obviously laid her in the bed. As Bailey Sarian would say, suspicious. When the doctor came, he did an examination as thorough as he could. He noticed some bruising around her neck, but Trout Shue wouldn't let him examine around there. He cradled her neck and her head in his arms, sobbing, telling him, "Don't touch, don't touch." Now the doctor, being maybe not as fair as he should have been, but being kind-hearted, thought that the man was overcome with grief and that he didn't want to intrude too much on such a devastatingly private and upsetting moment, so he wrote down the death as an everlasting faint. But then he did change it to childbirth because she had been seeing the doctor for woman's troubles. Whether or not she was pregnant, I don't think anyone's ever said. And so, obviously, that was that. That was the cause of death. Sorry, that was winding me up. I think I'm in focus better now. Anywho, so the day after, I mean, it happens quick then, happened quick back then, but the day after was her wake before her burial. Now, what else was weird on the day that obviously they found her and he dressed her, he washed her, repaired her as well, and people did think that was slightly funny because it was, back then it was the realm of the women. The women sorted out the dead bodies and cleaned them and everything. But anyway, the wake came before she was buried and she was in her coffin, casket. And when they opened the casket for people to see, again, Trout stepped in and he put a pillow under her neck and I think it was a sheet and a shawl or something like that, and put it under her. And again, when people came too close, he was, no, back off, don't look at her, please, blah, blah. And you know, during the whole grieving, really distraught husband thing, and everyone was like, okay. They were noted as pointing out that when the casket was moved for burial, the head did have a strange wobbliness about it. Oh, everyone just thought, you know, that was it. It had passed. Something seemed a bit strange, but you know. But one woman. Oh, no. She knew that this wasn't right. She felt it in her gut. And this woman was Shona's mum. And I think she was called Mary Jane Hester. But I will look that up again and put it in the description. And you can have a read. She said that the whole thing had been the work of the devil, and she did not like Trout from the first moment she met him anyway. Now, I'm not sure of the ins and outs, but there is also a story about she went to see her daughter, obviously, in the casket, like you would, and she took the sheet or the shawl that he'd placed in there, and she managed to get it, and there was staining on it, and she washed it, and I think red came out, but there was like a stain that just wouldn't go. It was like a pink stain or something, and it wouldn't wash off. It wouldn't go. And she said that this proved that there'd been foul play. It was definitely a mark of like murder and like the mark of the devil. Now, she kept this up. She said that, you know, this was foul play. It wasn't right. It wasn't like some kind of, she didn't fall down the stairs. It wasn't what they were saying. People were starting to think something was strange as well. But she prayed to the Lord for a sign of what happened. And one night, a bright white, she was awake. That is important. She was awake. A bright light came into her room, and slowly this light materialized into her daughter, Shona. Now Zona, Zona, just remember, Zona, not Shona. Zona, she didn't say much when she first went on the first night, but she came back the second night. Her mum was still awake, and she began to tell her how violent Trout had been. He had a history of being mean and abusive to her, and this night, the very night of her demise, he'd been angry and saying that there had been no meat for dinner, when she was telling him there was plenty of meat. She had food for him. He got angry with her and he killed her. She even told her mum that he had strangled her and that he had made her neck break at the first vertebrae. Her mum saw the dress she was wearing at the time of her demise. She showed it to her as clear as day. She came back. On the third night, she came back, and to prove her point about her neck and to show her mum, she literally turned her head like an exorcist twist to show her. She came back again on the 4th night, told her mum different things, all about what happened. They were so compelling that Mary Jane Hester knew what she had to do. She went to the local prosecutor, John Preston. Now, the description and the accuracy of it was just so convincing of what could have occurred, even though that wasn't on the death certificate and he hadn't seen it. But the things that she told him compelled him so much that he looked into the case. He researched further into Trout and found that he had been in prison for violence. So yeah, he'd been in prison for violence and theft. He'd also been married twice, and one of his wives had also died in mysterious circumstances. Couple this with the fact that the doctor coroner hadn't done a complete and thorough examination of Zona's body. John Preston managed to reopen the case as a suspected homicide and had Zona exhumed on February the 22nd or the 28th. No, it was the 22nd? February something. 1897, obviously. Anyway, 3 doctors did an autopsy on Zona, and they found, I shall read it and quote exactly what they found, because this is fascinating. This is the cause of death. The actual proper official cause of death was anoxia from manual strangulation compounded by a broken neck. Bruising consistent with finger marks was noted on her neck. Her esophagus was contused and her first and second vertebrae was fractured. Now, this was also possible by the fact that people were getting a bit, what the F has been going on? Because before they managed to get her exhumed, Trout had been going around the neighbourhood basically telling people, no one can prove that I killed Zona. No one can prove that I did it. Which is not what an innocent man says. Basically, this man is a dick. So anyway, our Trout was arrested for murder and it went to trial. Now, prosecution was unsure of whether or not they should have the testimony of what Zona had told her mum, for fear it might end up kicking them in the bum. But this was taken out of their hands when obviously the defence used it. But this is where they were laughing the other side of their faces, because it turned around and actually kicked them up the bum. The transcripts are still on record in West Virginia, and I shall read you what they said, because again, this is interesting and spooky. Defence counsel question. I have heard that you had some dream or vision which led to this post-mortem examination. Witness, Hester. Answer. It was no dream. She came back to me and told me that he was mad that she didn't have no meat cooked for supper, but she said she had plenty and said that she had butter and apple butter. Apples are named over 2 or 3 kinds of jellies, pears and cherries and raspberry jelly. And she says I had plenty, and she says, don't you think that he was mad and just took down all of my nice things and packed them away and just ruined them? And she told me where I could look down back of Aunt Martha's Jones in the meadow in a rocky place, that I could look in a cellar behind some loose plank and see. It was a square log house, and it was hewed up to the square, and she said for me to look right at the right hand side of the door as you go in, and at the right hand corner as you go in. Well, I saw the place just exactly as she told me, and I saw blood right where she told me. right where she told me. And she told me something about that meat. Every night she came, just she did the first night. She came 4 times in 4 nights. But the second night she told me that her neck was squeezed off at the first joint, and it was just as she told me. Now, Mrs. Hester, this sad affair was very particularly impressed upon your mind, and there was not a moment during your waking hours that you did not dwell upon it. No, sir, and yet there is not either. And was this not a dream founded upon your distressed condition of mind? No, sir, it was no dream, for I was awake as ever I was. Then if not a dream or dreams, what do you call it? I prayed to the Lord that she might come back and tell me what happened, and I prayed that she might come herself and tell on him. Do you think that you actually saw her in flesh and blood? Yes, sir, I do. I told them the very dress that she was killed in, and when she went to leave me, she turned her head completely around and looked at me like she wanted me to know all about it. And the very next time she came back to me, she told me all about it. The first time she came, she seemed that she did not want to tell me as much about it as she did afterwards. The last night she was there, she told me she did everything she could, and I am satisfied that she did all that too. Now, Mrs. Hester, don't you know that these visions, as you term them or describe them, were nothing more or less than 4 dreams founded upon your distress? No, I don't. The Lord sent it to me to tell it. I was the only friend that she knew she could tell and put any confidence in it. I was the nearest one to her. He gave me a ring that he pretended she wanted me to have, but I don't know what dead woman he might have taken it off of. I wanted her own ring, and he would not let me have it. Mrs. Hester, yeah, are you positively sure that these are not 4 dreams? Yes, sir, it was not a dream. I don't dream when I'm wide awake, to be sure, and I know I saw her right there with me. Are you not considerably superstitious? No, sir, I am not. I was never that way before, and am not now. Do you believe the scriptures? Yes, sir, I have no reason not to believe it. And do you believe the scriptures contains the word of God and his Son? Yes, sir, I do. Don't you believe it? Now, I would like, if I could, to get you to say that these were 4 dreams and not 4 visions or appearances of your daughter in flesh and blood. I am not going to say that, for I am not going to lie. Then you insist that she actually appeared in flesh and blood to you upon 4 different occasions? Yes, sir. Did she not have any other conversation with you other than upon the matter of her death? Yes, sir, some little things. Some things I have forgotten, just a few words. I just wanted particulars about her death, and I got them. When did she come down? When she came, did you touch her? Yes, sir. I got up on my elbows and reached out a little further, as if I wanted to see if people came in their coffins, and I sat up and leaned on my elbow, and there was light in the house. It was all a lamplight. I wanted to see if there was a coffin, but there was not. She was just like she was when she left this world. It was just after I went to bed, and I wanted her to come and talk to me, and she did. This was before the inquest, and I told my neighbours. They said she was exactly as I told them she was. The jury took, let me check, yeah, 1 hour and 10 minutes. And they came back with a guilty verdict. I better quote this, I don't want to be wrong. I think he was sent to life imprisonment because he was found guilty in the 1st degree, but then died of an epidemic disease 3 years later. Didn't even get proper justice, poor cow. Hope he suffered with his illness. Now, I believe that that was the first and last time that spectral evidence has been used in a trial. But I think it's fascinating, and I think, laugh at me all you want, but that is strong evidence that ghosts are real. That they can communicate with us if we're open to listening and opening our minds to the possibility, because she wasn't allowed to see her daughter's neck. He hid everything out of high collar. She wasn't there when she was found dead. She wasn't there when she was examined to see him. She only had time to grab the shawl out of the coffin. She was still bundled up in everything. She didn't really see. And even if she saw a bruise around her neck and knew that he strangled her and had to somehow find a way to do it, there's no way in God's earth she would have known that she'd broken her neck at the first vertebrae. It's amazing, and it's a compelling study of what just is out there if we all have open minds. I hope you like this story. and it interested you, maybe to look up the story yourself and have a read through, maybe to open your mind to the possibility of what could be out there in other realms, to maybe you're already a believer and you're just like, damn it, I knew there was stuff there already, I just knew, you know. But I think it's it's a sad story, because she was only 23. I mean, it wouldn't matter what age she was, but when you're younger as well, it always just makes it, doesn't it? Sorry about the noise in the background. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed finding out about it. And I'm glad that Zona managed to come back and tell her mum, so it had some kind of closure for her. If you want to see more like this, then tune in, like, subscribe, hit the ding-a-ling, and I'll be back again with another wonderful tale for you. Don't forget to stay safe, stay sane, do things for some TLC for you. You've got to give yourself some loving in this kind of climate that we're in. Try and stay positive and happy. You are important. Don't let anyone say you're not. Until the next time.